Sometimes the best conversations can be with someone you barely know. David Lipsky found this out when he spent a few days with the famed author David Foster Wallace. Join us now as we look at the all-too-real story behind the 2015 film, The End of the Tour.
Are you ready to get all too real? This is All Too Real Podcast. This is All Too Real Podcast.
Okay, everyone. Welcome to the All Too Real Podcast. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Matthew Haas.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, Matthew. How are you today?
Very good. Very well.
That's good. Nobody ever asks me how I'm doing.
I know, it's sad. They should, though.
I know, but there's not a third person here to ask me.
Oh.
You could ask me.
We can make... How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for asking, Matt. I'm gonna cry.
Oh, wait, your emotions your moods are very erratic today.
Which brings us to our topic today.
Yeah, it does.
Today, our topic is actually the film The End of the Tour, which is a film about a few days spent between Rolling Stone author David Lipsky and where he follows the end of a book tour with the acclaimed novelist David Foster Wallace, who was doing a tour for his book, The Infinite Jest.
Yeah.
And in the film, David Lipsky is played by
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yes.
The beautiful and majestic. Wait, I said that about Jason Segel last week. Whoa, that's weird.
Whoa.
And Jason Segel's in this movie.
Yes,
too.
that's true. Uh-oh,
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So I gotta come up with a new
word
for it. So the expressive, angelic, expressive Jesse Eisenberg. There you go.
Yes.
Expressive.
Yes, Jesse Eisenberg, who we have talked about previously in The Social Network. And he's one of the best actors out there, in my opinion,
Yeah.
but that's just me. Anyways, and then another great actor who's in this film, who plays David Foster Wallace, is...
Jason Segel or Segel.
Yes, Jason Segel.
Segel. I always don't want to say it because I feel like I'm saying seagull.
Like the bird.
And I always think that is that insulting? Is that supposed to be pronounced that way? But I guess it is.
I think
so.
it's Seagull.
Okay,
That's
so
how,
Segel,
yeah,
all right.
Seagull. Yeah. And, yes. And he does a bang-up job in this movie, as he always does.
Yeah.
And, so first off, the first thing we want to talk about, I mean, we're going to assume you've watched the movie if you're listening to this. If not, press pause.
And then watch it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. You can watch it on there.
Yep.
If you have Netflix, that is. Or I'm sure it's really easy to stream anywhere. Amazon, iTunes, whatever.
Blockbuster Video. Well,
Yeah. Oh, wait, you can't go there.
No.
I'm pretty sure that Blockbuster was not in existence even when this movie came out. So,
No, it wasn't.
yeah. I mean, it was alive, during the time period that this covers, which was in 1996-ish. So,
Yeah, Blockbuster was really popping back then.
Yes.
So
it was Blockbuster Video. Ooh, what a difference. Okay, anyways. All right, hopefully I don't get sued for singing the theme song to Blockbuster Video. Anyways, the first thing we're going to want to cover here is two things that we liked about this film. Two of your favorite scenes or whatever, what have you. What are the two favorite things that you enjoyed about this film, Matthew Haas?
Well, I just really like them driving in the car and going to to place to place and going to the gas station, getting a bunch of junk food, and that seemed like David was less guarded when they were in a car driving.
Which David? Like. This is going to be kind of confusing.
Well, sorry, David Foster Wallace seemed like he was less guarded when he was just in a car, either driving or in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
They were going from either were they driving to gigs themselves, or were they just driving around town? I
think they were just driving around town, basically in the different cities that they were in. But they did take a plane. I mean, because there is a scene where Joan Cusack's character, the Gunderson chick, picks them up and drives them around town too. So
so maybe they're driving around Illinois to different gigs or whatever, and they would just riff, and that's kind of where he came up with David Foster Wallace came up with some of his better, points during the interview, because he was really nervous, and so was David Lipsky. They were both very nervous about the interview process, and it seemed like David Foster Wallace had more trouble when they were like either sitting down at like a diner or like at home. It seemed like just being like moving seemed to help kind of just, I don't know, lubricate the the conversation. So I like those scenes a lot. Just, them talking about how much, they love junk food and stuff like that, which is it's kind of what the style of the article he was David Lipsky was writing, where he was trying to, I guess, sort of humanize David Foster Wallace, not just talk about like, the brilliant book he wrote or whatever, but just kind of find out like the little things about him, like the fact that he liked Alanis Morissette was another thing. I also like the scene where David Foster Wallace confronted David Lipsky for flirting with his ex-girlfriend Betsy when they were at her house.
Yeah, Betsy, played by Mickey Sumner.
Yeah,
is the actress's name.
And David Lipsky, he's like completely offended and shocked that he would ever, suggest that he was flirting. But you could clearly, anyone who has any sense of social awareness whatsoever could see that he was flirting. And I must say, there's a difference between flirtation and seduction. I mean, even though they might be somewhat related. So the fact that he was flirting,
people flirt with each other all the time. Right. Sometimes at work and different places too. I mean, I'm not saying that it's always right, but if you get a resistance to it, make sure.
Well, no, I'm not. Yeah. I'm just saying that I think that with him, I don't think he was necessarily trying to like pick someone up. I think that's just how. I think he was trying to impress girls, basically, because that's the whole thing they were talking about earlier.
They're talking about the whole fact that basically, you get into anything to get laid. Basically,
so I think that they're just because there's this one part where they're riding in the car, and David Lipsky is just like, basically coming up with all of these like weird catchphrases and stuff, and then Betsy says, "That sounds like something Dave would say," and then David Foster Wallace was like, "Yeah, doesn't it?" Like with like an edge to his tone.
Yeah.
Like, he felt like he was basically just like trying to mimic him to like seem cool or whatever. I don't know. It was just a kind of a weird, a kind of awkward moment between the two of them. So then after that, they didn't talk to each other for like a whole day, except for David Lipsky said goodnight when they went to the hotel, but then David Foster Wallace just walked away, didn't return his greeting. And then they go on the airplane. They don't talk to each other the entire flight, and then they get back to the airport parking lot, and David Lipsky forgot where he had parked his car. So there's like this really awkward scene that goes on for like way too long, like 3 fucking minutes, where he's just clicking the thing on his keychain trying to find his car. The scene went on forever, dude. I was literally watching it. I'm squirming.
I know.
I'm like, when's this scene gonna end? And then David Foster Wallace just drops his bag. I'm like, oh my god, this is so fucking awkward. Like,
yeah, but it creates the whole idea of, I think that's what they were trying to go for.
It like a real moment, like you would actually see this in real life. Like a full 3 minutes of just walking around aimlessly.
Yeah.
And it also too, like he would literally like walk around him to try to avoid eye contact.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was
awkward. Very tense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are like my favorite little moments, I guess, throughout the movie. I always kind of like the subtle parts of movies, it seems like. Not the big scenes, but...
Yeah, the first one I have is actually very subtle, and it's something probably most people, and it might not even be what they meant by it, but there's a line at the beginning towards the beginning of the movie, first when Lipsky arrives at Wallace's house or whatever, he looks out the window at one point, and Lipsky says, "Nice view," and Wallace says, "Thank you, I can't take credit for it." And that line, I think that dialogue, those two lines of dialogue set up the whole premise of the movie. Because it's basically in a way that I think Wallace feels that he can't take credit for the things that he's created in his own life.
Right.
Even though, I mean, he didn't create this view, but it's basically like the whole view of his own life. He basically didn't create it. It was created for him. And in a lot of ways, you know, once you become a famous writer, a famous musician, a famous actor, whatever, you know, people view you in a different light than don't realize that you're just a human. And it's like, I can't take credit for that view that you have of me in a way, you know. And I don't know if that's what the author of the screenplay meant when he wrote this.
But it was
but the second time viewing the film, I heard that line and I'm like, haha, that's interesting. Yeah. So that moment, for some odd reason, I think encapsulated the whole film to me, just that one moment. And I mean, I'm trying to think of what the second thing that I really like was, I really like, there's a thing too that, I mean, kind of a bookend to it. It's at the very end of the movie where, Lipsky's leaving Foster's place and trying to say goodbye to him, and he gives him, it's just this whole, there's this awkward scene where he's giving him his book, like that Lipsky wrote a novel too, and he's giving it to, it's like giving it to his idol in a way. And it's this whole, like me, please like me sort of feeling to it. And then, they have this line, this like back and forth and everything. And then there's like this little monologue that, Jason Segel gives, where he's talking about, I mean, I'm going to paraphrase some of the stuff here, but he's like talking about how there's this thing inside the book where somebody leaps from a burning skyscraper. And it's not that they're afraid of falling anymore. It's that the alternative is so awful. And it just, I know that that's part of kind of emphasizing the whole idea that later in life, David Foster Wallace kills himself. But it does also kind of, I think a lot of the meaning behind this, and I also love this kind of idea in stories, is where somebody just can't deal with the fame that they've been given. And I think in a lot of this, that's what David Foster Wallace had to deal with. He really couldn't, it's like he wanted to be famous, but he didn't at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think that happens to a lot of people that I know that I've talked to that are famous on like even just a local level, where they people see them as the weatherman on TV or the DJ on the radio station, but they don't realize that, well, there's a person behind that too, you know. I mean, it's you never know what it is, you know. It's just how it is, you know. And you see that a lot in interviews too, when you listen to more in-depth interviews with actual people, like you realize, wait, they're just humans who deal with the same shit that you and I deal with. And I think that that's kind of the message of this whole movie, is there's a lot of things that we're all dealing with some kind of issues in our own lives, whether we're famous or not.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's kind of a bummer, man.
It is kind of.
Yeah. But those are my favorite aspects of the film. And I think it's just basically the whole idea that, you know, the main one too being the first one, where it's like, you know, I can't take credit for it. That's just the whole thing. It's the whole movie in 2 lines of dialogue.
Like it's
yeah.
like a nutshell. There you go.
Yeah.
You don't need to watch it now.
Yeah, no, but please watch it.
Yeah,
it's basically foreshadowing everything that's to come.
Yeah.
In a way. And I might be reading too much into this simple line of dialogue, but I think it really does. And I mean, and like you said, I really do like the things you talked about, where they're just basically, you know, jamming out to Alanis Morissette, and they're just being buddies sort of at times, but then the whole awkwardness, and it's basically like they went through a whole relationship of a friendship in like a few days.
It was like 5 days. Yeah, it wasn't hardly anything. And
yeah, it's and so it kind of does, you know, emphasize the whole thing of like, you know, how you treat your friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole film is ultimately a film about loneliness and about pain and jealousy and trying to find yourself without becoming someone else in a way too, because that's the other thing, is where I think Lipsky's trying to find out who he is too, but Wallace is basically afraid that Lipsky's trying to ape who he is, but he's also almost warning him, don't be me.
Right, because he doesn't like himself very much.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know, I don't well, that's what he said. He's like, I don't really think you really want to be me. or be like me or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because he's not very happy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he might be successful just kind of on the... I mean, like there's a scene, too, where David Lipsky basically accuses him of, like, pretending to... like, basically patronizing other people, like you're so much smarter than you act because you want to make people feel, better. Then they get into this whole argument where he's like, no, I'm not doing any routine. That's just
it's like, I'm not putting on a show for you sort of thing.
He just won't believe him. He's like, oh, no, you are, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so...
But in a way, we all put on a show for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, there are aspects of everybody that we don't really reveal to... I mean, there are some aspects that, we just keep to ourselves.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm not saying that that's good or bad. It's just, a lot of times, there are times where, I try to be as real as I can at all times, but there are times where I hold back of what I really want to say.
Really? I haven't noticed that.
No. You gotta have some decorum in life.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You can't always keep it real or whatever.
Yeah. You can't keep it all too real all the time.
Oh. Yeah, some kind of diplomacy is necessary for civilization to keep running.
And there are those times too where you wanna be the funny guy, you wanna be the guy that people like, you wanna be the the center of attention, or you just want to blend in. It just depends on how you're feeling. And I think a lot of times where maybe Wallace was putting on a facade at some times where he was trying to be the intellectual, like, listen to everything I say because it's all gold, sort of thing.
Right.
But it really, but then again, he might just be doing that as a defense mechanism to his
like
misery.
He's insecure. Like, maybe he didn't actually think that his book deserved that much acclaim, but doesn't want to, say that either because he got lucky, type of thing. It's lots of mixed emotions. Like you said, it's like nobody has just one feeling or desire. There's usually multiple contradictory desires that basically oppose each other, and it's all about which one is predominant. So, like, I might want the attention, but I want the attention when I want the attention. When I want it to be going away, just leave me alone, type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be
you
famous.
Can't control.
You can't control being famous. Like, it's it's out there. Like, it's, so he kind of mentions that too about, like, just, when he wants people around, he wants them around, but then he wants to be alone to work. He doesn't want anyone else in the room with them or whatever. Like,
we don't always have that. We don't always have that luxury though,
right,
too. I mean, because he was talking about not being in a relationship. I mean, later in life, David Wallace did get into a relationship, but it's kind of the whole thing where he just talks about, it's better to be alone where you can work on your stuff when you want to, and you can do what you want to when you want to.
Yeah.
Anyways, those were our all two likes. I think we're going to take a break right now to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back here on All Too Real. Hi, folks. This is Michael E. Cullen II from the podcast that you're listening to right now, along with
manager Matthew Haas.
You got promoted?
Yes.
Damn it. Okay. Anyways, folks, do you like the show Superstore? I don't know. I asked the folks and nobody's answering me.
Because they're not here.
Oh,
but we love
damn it. Yeah, we love it, though. Okay, folks, if you like it as much as we do, you're really going to like the Super Story podcast, which is a podcast where Matthew and I go episode by episode and give our little opinions and thoughts on it. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we don't. Just depends on how we're feeling.
Yeah.
And, so if you like this podcast and like our little crazy banter,
then you should definitely check this out, or I might get sad. And when I get sad, it gets pretty sad.
Yeah,
so
I can't deal with him when he's sad.
Yeah, no one can really. So
yeah. So check out Super Story Podcast right here where you get this podcast, Super Story Podcast. And we're back. Hope you enjoyed the little ads we had there. Anyways, next thing here that we're covering here on the All Too Real episode here about the end of the tour is the All Too Fake section. Yeah, we're going to cover things that were not quite right in the movie or something, you know? I don't know, but we'll see. Got anything here, Matt?
It's very minor, but in the movie, David Lipsky goes to the bathroom and he opens the medicine cabinet, which I thought was kind of invasive, and just trying to see he writes down like toothpaste or whatever. And according to David Foster Wallace, though, in real life, he left that stuff open for David Lipsky to quote discover so that he could write it down for his article. But he didn't want to just go out and tell him, hey, you could go ahead and rummage through my stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird to say. I mean, who would say that? By the way, you could go through my medicine cabinet, and I mean, it's a weird,
yeah,
you know what I mean, like to say. So
might not be so weird for David Foster Wallace to say that, though. That's the thing, because that's just kind of how he is.
Yeah. And then what else was? No, the Pop-Tart thing was real. That actually was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that's not really fake or anything, but it's like. One thing I got here is that although it's never really made clear or followed up in the movie, Lipsky never published the article that he was assigned in Rolling Stone, because there were like other stories that were more urgent, including the drug overdose of Shannon Hoon from Blind Melon.
The band.
Yeah,
band was so great.
And he had a drug overdose like right about the same time, and so. That was, you know, obviously more important to a music magazine.
Well, yeah. You know, it's so weird, though, because I read that article that talked about that, and then he said that David Lipsky said that his editor told him that there was, quote, heroin trouble in Seattle. I thought that he meant about David. That he had to go and meet David because he was on like a bender.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
Trying to talk him out of it, but then I realized he meant that he had another story to cover.
Yeah,
but it just was interesting because the whole heroin rumor.
Yeah, because there is the thing, and it's like who knows if Wallace ever had a heroin addiction or not. Some people think he did, some people think he didn't.
Right.
And I mean, like they say in the movie, and the whole thing too is like heroin is the sexy addiction, which I find ridiculous that people, you know, but back then, like in the 90s, there was a whole heroin chic sort of thing too with modeling and everything, where you would have these, you know, gaunt looking women like I don't know, what was that, I can't remember her name, but like Tweed or something was her last name. She was like a really famous model at the time, and she was like dating like Johnny Depp at one point and stuff like that. But anyway, she was known for the fact that she had what they called quote unquote a heroin chic, which was basically where you looked, you looked pretty gaunt and skinny, and that was kind of the sex, real unhealthy. It was like the sexy thing at the time. I mean, some people still are attracted to that, whatever floats your boat here. It's just kind of interesting that, you know, it was almost like, and they did do that a lot in ads. They almost made people look like they were on heroin.
Like strung out.
Yeah.
That's great.
I remember like a lot of them were all black and white and sexy because of that, you know.
Hey kids, go try heroin.
Yeah.
And look like this. You might not live to see it, but.
Yeah.
Wow.
But, Calvin Klein. Yeah, anyways, no offense, Calvin Klein. Anyways, but yeah, that's probably, I mean, I don't think there are really much fake things in this movie because, I mean, basically this movie was Lipsky's point of view. So you can't really say, hey, the way you remembered things is a lie because it's how he remembered things. It isn't, nobody else was there besides him and Wallace.
Right.
So even like these people that come out now and say that, oh, this wasn't a good interpretation of who David Wallace was, this isn't who David Wallace was. This was David Wallace for 5 days of his life.
And through the lens
of somebody else. Right. It's like, you know.
And who knows, he may have just been in a weird mood that week, and that he may not even act like that for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And just for whatever reason, he's acting that way. But now that's been immortalized as his personality.
Yeah.
So that's the danger of, I think, of like just writing things about someone from one.
And I mean, the thing is
period.
too, it's like if you spend 5 days with somebody and I spend 5 days with somebody, we bring our own personality to the situation too. So the the experience I have with somebody might be different than the experience that you have with somebody because we're different people.
Yeah.
They're reacting to, our own personalities too. So and it's even if you were all in the same situation, you're all going to remember things differently. Like, if we all witness a car crash, we're all going to remember, oh no, that car was speeding a little bit faster than that car. No, it was the motorcycle that was going fast. Or whatever. It's just, we all remember things. It's like, oh, it was, 85 degrees out. No, it was like about 80. You never know.
Yeah.
But it's just the way things are. And I don't know. But the next thing that we're going to cover here, as we go down our abyss into the world of David Foster Wallace, is two things that are real and are all too reality. Section.
Basically, the whole movie from David Lipsky. I guess I could break it down.
Okay.
Like he really was self-conscious when David Lipsky first came there about does he have enough food for his guests and all that kind of stuff. Like he had like a Pop-Tart, and then he actually insisted on sharing it because he felt guilty about only having enough food for himself. So then, and he did say like me. Pop-Tart, or what's the Spanish? What was it?
Me Pop-Tart, a soup Pop-Tart?
Yeah, he did actually say that, but he said it very awkwardly too. Like he felt nervous that he didn't have food or whatever.
Yeah.
So that little things like that actually happened. Like I said, the medicine cabinet thing was more or less true, except for the minor difference. I don't know about the fight stuff. I read a bunch of articles, but I didn't see anything about like their falling out for a little bit. I don't know if that was just for the movie or what, but I don't know. I think most of it is true according to David Lipsky's perspective. There's things that aren't in there, like there's things that that they didn't add in, like other stories from other people's perspectives. So that's, but
well, the thing is, it wasn't. This is a story about two dudes and their experience. It's not the world's experience of David Foster Wallace or his friend's experience. It's a writer's experience with him. And
this writer who it's like almost hero worships him to a degree, sort of. And then it's just I don't know. It's just wild. From what I know, it seemed like most of it was true, according to the biography. What was the biography called?
The name of the book was
something about ghost or you become yourself.
Although, of course, you end up becoming yourself. A road trip with David Foster Wallace by David Lipsky. Yeah.
Interestingly too about that. So I was reading a bunch of articles, and it said that his trust, family trust, or the David Foster Wallace trust, didn't agree with the movie or
didn't approve of it.
Didn't approve it. They weren't consulted, but they were the one that kind of pushed for the book that the movie's based on. So I'm not sure. Maybe the book, they didn't like how the book turned out, even though they kind of encouraged it, type of thing. So originally they were encouraging, but once they read it,
they realized, wait, this isn't the David we remember, sort of thing.
So, I read stuff. Of course, there's like disagreements. Like there's like hardcore fanboy people that sort of immortalize him, like nothing at all that his fan, like almost like some people who are like fans of someone, almost they act like they know someone more than like the people in their actual lives do. Because they understand them better or whatever.
It's like if you're an Elvis freak, you think you know more about Elvis than like Priscilla Presley would have or something. But no, you don't. And there's like, and like there was an article that you read and I read by Glenn Kenny from the Guardian, where the title of the article is Why the End of the Tour Isn't Really About My Friend David Foster Wallace. So if that tells you anything,
very blunt title.
Yeah, so it's. And even if you read that article too, he has a quote unquote friend throughout the thing too. He doesn't even, it's like he says he didn't even really think he knew him too. So my thing is how can you say the movie isn't about, but in my opinion too, that kind of almost is to the point where we're saying that this is one person's point of view of David Foster Wallace.
Yeah.
It isn't everybody's point of view of David Foster Wallace. And this guy just basically was more of an acquaintance than a friend, but he had the ability to call him a friend.
Right.
Whereas, it's not like they were buddies hanging out all the time. So, I mean, that's the thing. Even when you live with somebody, sometimes you can't really say you know them fully. It's like, and everybody's going to have, even if like 5 people live in a house together, right, they're all going to have a different point of view. Or if you put 7 strangers in a house, then you got the real world. And then, wait, no.
What was that movie? It was like supposed to be related to American Psycho, where it was the guy's nephew or a younger brother.
Oh, the one with James Van Der Beek.
Yeah, and there's this line.
Wasn't it like rules of
rules of engagement, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, or attraction.
No, rules of attraction.
Yeah, engagement was the TV series. I think. Yeah,
and there's this line where well, it's said a few times throughout the movie. There's like this woman who's like been obsessed with this guy that she hooked up with like last semester or last year at spring, and like she's been like obsessing with him like all summer. Like they're flaying like it's almost like completely like immortalized in her mind. Like
became like the center of her mind and everything.
Yeah, and then he went off to Europe for the summer because he was like rich with parents or whatever, so he was able to travel through Europe, and he did all kinds of drugs and had sex with all kind of people. And he comes back to school, and her roommate, tells her, so and so's back or whatever. So she tries to go rush to find him. Dude doesn't even remember her at all. And it completely like broke her heart. And I think at some point, I forgot what it was. Someone else has a crush on her. I think at one point, like almost the same kind of situation. And then he says like, "I just wanted to get to know you." And then she says, "Well, nobody really knows anyone." And that line was kind of traded throughout the whole movie, like
and it's true. I mean, because no one does really know everybody, know anyone. I mean, sometimes I don't even think you know yourself.
No,
so
I know I don't.
Yeah. Well, Matt, I'd like you to meet Matt.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah. Anyways, but I mean, and it is, I mean, it's kind of appropriate. The title of the book was, although of course you end up becoming yourself.
Yeah.
Because in the end, that's all you are. You can put on a front, you can do whatever you want, and you can try to be David Foster Wallace, but you're not going to be David Foster Wallace. You're just going to end up being yourself. We all acquire traits and attributes of our friends and people we admire and loved ones and whatnot, but in the end, we do end up becoming ourselves. So, right here we got actually well first let's go to a break here first.
Sure,
we're gonna take a break, get some ads in here, maybe some money from them,
hopefully,
so buy or listen to or partake of whatever kind of product that we have here while I enjoy this nice Mountain Dew. All right, we'll be back.
A respectable minister takes charge and leads head-on.
Minister Donald Trike may be the foremost politician of textiles.
As a minister, I have the utmost sensitivity to these situations, and if anyone's sensibilities were harmed, I would have sensed it.
But his petty ambitions will almost certainly lead us to unknown danger.
How dare you, sir! Unknown danger has its potential for profit. It's exotic.
You can hear Minister Trike and his antics in the radio comedy Magus Elgar.
Visit MagusElgar.com to download your copy today.
Hi, everybody. This is Michael E. Cullen II from the podcast you're listening to right now. With me, as always, is
Matthew Hassa.
Yeah, and we're here to tell you about our really cool other podcast called All Too Real 2. And what do we do on that show, Matt?
We watch the greatest direct-to-video sequels of all time, and then we report on them.
And we also talk about other pop culture cool things like video games and conspiracy theories and other awesome things. So if any of that sounds fun to you and you enjoy hearing my voice and Matt's voice,
as you should.
I mean, of course. Tune in anywhere you get podcasts to All Too Real 2. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed those ads and whatnot. We were having a little fun here.
Yeah.
We figured out what should be the name of the final chapter in the Star Wars saga. It's going to be Star Wars Episode 9.
Want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lightsabers and whatnot.
That's
You've been waiting for 40 years.
Yeah.
to find that finale.
Okay, so anyways, guess you had to be there. Anyways,
Yeah.
the next thing that we're going to do is tackle our last section here for the episode, which is all 2 questions.
And they actually are 2 questions.
Yes. So what are the questions that you came up with here, Matt, to ask me?
Clear my throat. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry if you heard that. Because I blew right into the microphone. But the first one was what did you think of the movie, or how did you?
Yeah.
Is that what I wrote?
Like most of them.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I liked the movie a lot, and I would definitely recommend it to somebody because I think it was a very good slice of life, like days in the life of a couple of dudes.
5 days
and whatnot.
That's all it takes. And whatnot. That's all it takes for a friendship between 2 lonely dudes
to grow. Yeah.
Really, I've actually experienced this myself sometimes, where you're like in a state where you're just really lonely, and you meet someone. It's usually like another dude, like someone who just sort of can understand, where you're coming from or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying that a girl can't either, but it usually tends to be that, and you form a really quick bond. And sometimes it lasts forever, like with us, like 16 years ago, whatever. Well, no, not quite, but whatever. And then sometimes it doesn't, whatever. The friendship lasted for like a week. That's fine. And still leaves an imprint, for.
And you never know.
Life.
No matter how long you're friends with somebody, it can always affect your life in different ways.
Yeah.
You never know. It could be really strong, and you only know somebody for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So. The last question is a question that both of us can answer and probably have the same answer. Have you read Infinite Jest or any other of David Foster Wallace's works?
No. I might read Infinite Jest. I've heard that it's interesting. It might not be my style, like I was saying during break, is that I've been on a fantasy kick lately with like elves and magic and demons and forest creatures, so that might not be my my thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure what Infinite Jest is about. I mean, I'll be completely honest.
It's
I need
about
to look into
everything.
Yeah,
it's about how the backdrop, the background is. I don't even know if this is even the main part of the book, but it takes place in the near future from when he wrote it. So that was like 1995 when he finished writing.
Yeah,
and the governments of the United States of America, Canada, and Mexico formed their own tri-state government. So basically, Mexico, United States, and Canada are a single country now.
Oh, wait, yeah, I think I remember reading about this.
I don't even know if that's even the main part of the book, though.
Yeah.
That just might be something that he just threw in there, because a lot of it's like surreal, so that might just be to kind of confuse you. Like, why isn't he talking more about this type of thing? That should be the main thing he's talking about, not a tennis academy.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a big thing about a tennis academy. I'm thinking, okay, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. To me, I'm thinking, I want to hear more about the Mexican, American, and Canadian government merging into a single government, and you're talking about a tennis academy. What's going on here? But that might be part of the...
It might just be the backdrop.
The kind of like surreal, to kind of get you confused kind of style. That might be... I don't know, because it's like 1,097 pages long. So there's a lot you could fit in there.
That's a lot.
I might read it. I don't know.
Yeah, I might come across reading that. I also think I might want to read Lipsky's book as well about, that the movie was based on. But who knows? I've got a lot to read, man.
Me too. I mean, I got too much.
Life is so short. I don't have time for any of this.
Well, that's the thing. You got to pick the things. You can't just like Mark Maron said. Yeah, you can't just be indiscriminate anymore about.
It's like, do I want to die doing this?
Exactly. You got to be a little bit more selective about how you use your time. And that's a good thing, though. And
I know. Before we end, I've got a few little trivia and other things here. First thing I wanted to bring up was that this is the second time that Jason Segel plays a character with a liking for Alanis Morissette's music. Here, David Foster Wallace has a poster of Morissette on the wall in his house. In How I Met Your Mother, Marshall, who is also played by Segel, tells a friend he has an extra ticket for an Alanis Morissette concert, and there's this whole thing where he ends up going with because he bought the ticket for him and his then ex-girlfriend Lily at the point in the series, and he ends up going with his buddy, who's this other lawyer buddy of his, and they end up kind of broing out, and they go and have brunch together and stuff like that. So it's kind of a similar thing where, you know, you're lonely and you end up hanging out with another dude, and then it almost, yeah.
I remember that, the brunch guy, yeah.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's the other thing was the actress Becky Ann Baker. She plays the bookstore manager in this film. She also played Mrs. Weir on Freaks and Geeks, which also starred Jason Segel.
I noticed that. I was like, wait a minute, that's awesome.
Yeah, I noticed that. I did too, and this wasn't even on the trivia of like the Internet Movie Database or anything. It was just I noticed it and looked it up, and I was like, yeah, that's Mrs. Weir. But yeah, that was kind of cool.
That's so cool, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, would you recommend people seeing this movie, Matt?
I think so. It's a little bit slow starting. It's so if you're expecting like fireworks or whatever, it's not that kind of movie. It's more
if you're
of
expecting explosions, go watch a Michael Bay movie. Don't watch this.
Yeah, it's a thinker. It's definitely a thinker movie. It's sometimes I think it is a little bit too intellectual at times, but then they kind of even then pull away from that to kind of make it more, viewable. Is that even a word? I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a thinker. So if you're not into that thing, then I don't know. But it's not over the top. It's not what's the word I'm thinking? It's not too. What's the word? Like where you think you're trying to be like so smart and you think you're smarter than everyone else, so then you're trying to exclude everyone else. It's not like one of those kind of movies where it's like, ooh, you gotta be special and cool to get it. Like Holy Mountain, which is a good movie. Don't get me wrong, but I know a lot of film geeks, act like, oh, have you seen Holy Mountain? Have you seen? Do you know what it's really about, man? Like it's all the secrets. It's like, yeah, I do know. It's actually was called Sacred Mountain first, so fuck you. Now let me watch my movie in peace without trying to, like one up me with trivia.
Yeah,
that was kind of a weird rant. The Mountain Dew is kicking in, I think.
Yes, I think so too. Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
the soda that kicks in. Anyways,
the soda of Daniel Johnston.
Yes, the soda of All Too Real. Anyways, they're not sponsoring us, by the way.
No.
But if you'd like to, PepsiCo, please contact us, and we'd be more than happy to tout the greatness of Mountain Dew.
Currently, this is a free sponsorship on our part, what we're doing here.
Yes.
So we're doing free advertising for
Mountain Dew.
PepsiCo, Mountain Dew, Pop-Tarts was one of them, Twix.
Yeah, Pop-Tarts are very prominent in this movie, too.
They are. Pop-Tarts are actually a main thing.
I love strawberry Pop-Tarts.
Me too. I mean, my favorite is chocolate fudge.
Oh, that too. I like both of those. Those are my favorite. Have you ever put them together?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good.
It is really good.
Anyways,
not good for you. But.
No, but no, they might be though. They're part of a balanced, nutritious
they're part
breakfast.
of a complete breakfast.
Yes,
that means that you have to eat other things with it.
Yeah, it's only part of a complete breakfast. It's not a complete breakfast.
No, it's not.
No. Anyways, so the last thing I'd just like to mention before we wrap things up here, like how Pop-Tarts are nicely wrapped as well. You know, when you get them in that nice little foil pouches. Yeah. Anyways, one of my favorite things in the whole movie is the last line of dialogue, and I believe it's from the book that Lipsky wrote. And this is what he had to say. He says, "When I think of this trip, I see David and me in the front seat of his car. We are both so young. He wants something better than he has. I want precisely what he has already. Neither of us knows where our lives are going to go. It smells like chewing tobacco, soda, and smoke, and the conversation is the best one I've ever had. David thought books existed to stop you from feeling lonely. If I could, I'd say to David that living those days with him reminded me of what life is like, instead of being a relief from it. And I tell him it made me feel much less alone." And that's true. Anyways, we're gonna end there on a downer.
Sorry.
But no, I mean, the thing is, go out there, create adventures. Don't be so lonely, people. Yeah. And don't be afraid to get all too real. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real Podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.